Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Leslie. We're going to discuss Ciera Burch's Something Kindred for my interview, the Vampire Inspired Readathon, which is 8 books on Louis de Pointe Deluxe bookshelf, where we just kind of snoop onto his shelf and see what is on there. I'm going to go ahead and just read a brief overview of Something Kindred. It's about Jerica Walker, who had planned to spend the summer before senior year soaking up the sun with her best friend on the Jersey Shore. Instead, she finds herself in Coldwater, Maryland, a small town with a dark and complicated past where her estranged grandmother lives. Someone she knows only 2 things about: her name and the fact that she left Jerica's mother and uncle when they were children. But now Jerica's grandmother is dying, and her mother has dragged Jerica along to say goodbye. As Jerica attempts to form a connection with a woman she's never known and adjust to life in a town where everything closes before dinner, she meets a ghost girl, Kat, a girl eager to leave Coldwater and more exciting than a person has any right to be. But Coldwater has a few unsettling secrets of its own. The more you try to leave, the stronger the town's hold. As Jerica feels the chilling pull of her family's past, she begins to question everything she thought she knew about her mother, her childhood, and the lines between the living and the dead. And here to discuss this with me today is my lovely guest who has been entertaining me, making me laugh, think deeper about all things television, movies, and books. And let's bring them on if I know what I'm doing.
Hello.
AC, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And honestly, thank you for forcing me to get my new library card. I've recently, well, not even recently, I think it's 2 years at this point, moved counties, and I had my old county library card. But when you approached me about this book, I said, let me check, the local library and see if they have it. And they did, and I got my library card.
Oh, very cool. Yes.
Mhm.
Libraries, I love libraries. Would you mind telling everybody, if they're watching the replay, about your channel?
Oh, okay. So my channel is See the Superior. I'm See the Superior on all platforms. And, essentially, I just talk about things that interest me and my friends as far as entertainment wise. I do books. Actually, I'm doing another book review later tonight with my girlfriends. It's a boating book, but we started reading it a while ago. We're just now kind of talking about it. So if you're interested in rowing and the Olympic sport of rowing, we are reading a book in relation to that, or have read a book in relation to that. We'll be discussing it tonight around 9ish. I also talk about, entertainment news, geek news and shows. We're talking about Invincible right now on my channel. We plan on talking about Daredevil Born Again when that releases in March. And of course, I talk about the Mayfair Witches. I do a watch along on my channel every Monday of each new episode. It's been an adventure. And I also do a live kind of like after show, me and a couple other creators on Mayfair Witches as well.
Yeah, your Mayfair Witch reactions or like watch alongs are keeping me going.
Thank you.
And I'm really looking forward to Daredevil. Like, I'm genuinely excited about it.
Oh, I can't wait.
All right, I'm going to say hello to some of the people in the chat really quick before I start asking questions. Hello, Elena. Thank you for being here. And we're kind of going back and forth. Darfalina, I'm so glad. Darfalina read the book too. She read Something Kindred.
Oh, great.
So thank you for reading along with us. Darfalina says, I only finished reading this an hour ago.
Listen, I finished it this morning.
I finished it like last night.
Oh, okay.
I read like 2/3 of it, and then I kept putting it down. And it wasn't the book; it was just me. I was just being like scatterbrained, and I was just like, "Sit down and read it." Like,
Okay,
you're doing this tomorrow.
we all got there just in the nick of time. We all made it.
Sex lady, Kiana, thank you for being here. All right, so I have questions. Let me get started on this. All right, let's jump in. Oh, you know what? Let me put the spoiler banner really quick before I continue.
Yes. Spoiler chat.
nothing out. Okay, you know what? Let me ask you this. What did you think about the representation of Maryland in the book?
Oh, okay. So I was hoping you would ask me this. Yeah, I'm from Maryland, right? I am a current resident and, born and raised in the area, right? And when I was reading it, I said, hold on, this part of Maryland ain't the part of Maryland that I'm familiar with. This is very kind of country bumpkin Maryland, no way, one way in, one way out kind of a town. That's not my experience of Maryland. I grew up in Peachey County. I'm in Montgomery County right now. And it's all very, uh, very heavily populated, very big money out here. So I'm like, when I was reading, they only got one little food line, one little diner. So what part of Maryland is this? But Maryland is bigger than it looks. There are parts of it that are very rural. So that's where she was in Clearwater, I guess.
Yeah, it was just it felt even one of the characters, because she's Kat has this like forced proximity friendship with Asia
Yeah.
through her mother, and she even says like, oh, because they go to a party, right? And that's where she meets Ghost Girl Kat and has a rapport with them. And Kat and Asia don't like each other. And so she
Mhm.
says, like, I can't not invite her because if I don't, people like start doing that. No one's going to be at a party because it's such a small town. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is like such a specific dynamic.
This has never been my experience of Maryland. So it's interesting to see that, there are places in Maryland that are like this apparently. So it was eye-opening to me as a Marylander.
Yeah. Actually, before I continue, I just realized I'm doing this backwards. What did you think about the book overall?
All right, so let's get into the real nitty gritty. Okay, let's get into the real nitty gritty. Honestly, hot take. I felt like I was catfished by this book. When I read the description, I was under the assumption that this was going to be more spooky than it actually turned out to be. I thought it was going to be, ghost and possibly the occult or something of that nature. And it is very much not that at all. It's more of a young girl coming to terms with her family and getting closer in her relationships with her family, and also her bi awakening.
Mhm.
So I'm like, hold on,
Like,
this is
yeah.
not the book. This is not the book that I thought I was signing up for. So there's that. Um, Two, I do like the length of the book. It's very digestible, if you will. Even though it took me quite some time to read it, it's only because I'm out of practice reading like physical copy books. I'm an Audible girly, okay? I pop it on while I'm doing tasks, and that's how I make it through. But I do appreciate the length of the book. And I do appreciate certain characters within the book. I'll go into that maybe a little later. I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah.
But my thoughts of the book are catfishing with the summary. And it's honestly a slower pace than what I anticipated. We'll go
Yeah.
into detail
Yeah. Darfelina says, LOL, accurate.
though. Okay. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Yes.
It was a coming of age story with some ghosts in the background. Yeah.
In the far background, way in the back.
Yeah. I thought I did, because it is YA, so that's kind of how I was justifying it to myself as I was reading. But by the time I was done, I definitely felt like I wanted okay, so on the um on the sleeve it says like magical realism and southern gothic, but it's so lightly, I don't even know why the magical realism part is listed in there because it's not there at all.
Where is it?
And I don't think the ghosts count, right, for magical realism.
No.
And I just wanted to feel with gothic literature, I just want to feel it like in the air. I want to feel like nature kind of encroaching all around, but like throughout the book, and that didn't really happen.
No.
Um and I know it's YA. I just think I wanted a little bit of a darker tone, and um there was also some other elements I wanted teased out more, but I'll ask questions and then we'll we'll get there when we get there. Let me see. Okay, early on, Jerica tells us, the reader, that her mom changes apartments like 2 or 3 times a year,
Mhm.
that maybe she's trying to outrun cold water. What do you think that at that point in the book, what do you think her mom is running from?
I just took it as because I don't really remember if we get into depth as to what Jerica's mom does for a living. What's her name? Lacey? What she does for a living? I don't know. I just took it as a single mother, maybe possibly not having stable income or enough income to, stay in one place, and they kind of move around due to some income issues potentially. I didn't take it, even though that's what she kind of says, that she's running away from Clearwater. I didn't really take it as that because she came back to Clearwater for her mom, So I was like, is she
Yeah.
really running away? And you don't have to move continuously to run away from Clearwater. If you're in, New Jersey, why are you running still? You're far away.
Yeah, I just felt like I wasn't sure because she says it so early on. So at the time I thought, oh, maybe she's just maybe that's a little bit of like her emotional undercurrent, that she's not really facing things. I wouldn't
Mhm.
know else. I mean, out of practicality, I don't know who has the money to move to move around so much, but good for her.
Yeah, I was thinking, look, she trying to escape on the rent, like she breaking the lease, like what's going on? Yeah,
Okay, so Jerica is now getting to know her grandmother for the first time, and she asks her grandma, why did she um why didn't she reach out after all this time? And her grandma states that dying's not like everything else. The way I see it, it's something you might want people around for. What do you think about her grandmother's reply?
uh, I think it's something that a lot of people, I guess, experience as they get older. Maybe they do want the comfort of family around more, people that they care about more as they are, in the process of dying. Um, yeah, you can't run from death, right? So
Yeah.
it's nothing else you can't run from at that point. So yeah, I would, if I was in her shoes, I'd want to be around my family too. You might have to make amends and you know.
Yeah, I don't have any judgment for her. I just felt like, oh, that's so sad that she
Mhm.
stayed away. Like there was no, as far as we know, like no outreach, and to know that it takes her being on death's doorstep to want to connect. I just felt that was sad. I was like, this is like very depressing. But I'm glad she did. It's just I guess it was kind of reflective of life. Like sometimes things just happen, and life is just complicated.
Yeah. Mhm. Life is life, and
Go back to the chat. Hey Margaret, hey ho, interested to see how this related to the series. Oh, we will get that at the end, but I promise I will. Okay. Okay, what did you think? What did you think about Jerica's treatment of James throughout the book? She said he's comfortable, but I was like what? Like a couch? I just like telling someone, thinking in her head that he's comfortable was like,
Mhm.
uh,
I
maybe
felt
salty.
so bad for James. I felt so bad for James this whole book because he was just like a little puppy, just, trying to send her a message, trying to, just be around her, even though they're not in the same state or whatever. I felt so bad for him. And it made me not like Jericho because of the way she was treating him. It's like, if you don't like the boy, tell him you don't like the boy. Like, work it out. You can't, have this boy you can't string this young man along, right? Let him break free so he can, find someone who can treat him right. So I liked James, but I felt so bad for him. And there were points in the story that I just wish that he had more of a backbone and more strength to just end the relationship it's himself and not have to wait until Jerica, were to do it. Let's have some self-esteem, have a stand up for yourself.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One, like I agree with everything, and then she basically is like ghosting him.
Yes.
But I almost felt like I kind of wish the writer would have had like all the chapters from the moment that she's like not responding to him to when she's faced with him. I wish there was like maybe a little more interaction,
Mm.
or at least like in her head to the reader, because like for chapters and chapters, I'm just like, what the hell happened with James? You
That's
know?
probably because she was like, who gives a damn about James? She doesn't care about James. Okay. Out of sight, out of mind. I was just as shocked as she was when he showed up at the door. I was like, what even made him think that this was okay? She's barely responding to you. You're going to show all the way up in Maryland?
Yeah,
Weird.
that was a wild part. And I also thought, yeah, she just seems like she's not only indecisive, but she's not even really aligned with like her own emotions. Like she
Okay.
doesn't even know, she's not even sure what she feels. And I don't know what that is, but yeah, I felt like she was really stringing him along.
Mhm.
And I was just like, the longer the time was passing, I just felt it like this is gonna, I don't know how, but this is gonna blow up in her face, and it does.
I feel like her thinking that or saying that she doesn't know how she feels. I think that's a cop out. She knew she didn't want that boy. She knew she didn't want that boy because when she found somebody she did want, it was very clear, right? So it's like she was just dragging him along as like her comfort pillow, like the gremlin.
Like
That's
as soon as Kat touched her hand, even the way the author describes it, and that's like before we know that she's bisexual. I thought as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, this is why you're
mm-hmm,
you're not into him.
right.
All right, so let me catch up with the chat. Darflina, they talk a bit about how people in town will focus on one person's drama until the next bit of drama pops up, but they never let on what Lacey's drama's secrets are or what the town thought of her leaving. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's so true. Um, James was more of an afterthought than the ghost. Yeah.
Right.
She took his virginity, then bounced.
Shady. But yeah, they never did get into much about Lacey's leaving or the town at least. So that's a good point.
Yeah, and then also for her to drag along James for so long, it it sucks actually because they have such a long-standing friendship.
Yeah.
So I almost felt like it made it worse.
Yes. Yes. This is giving me like, Jacob flashbacks of how Bella was like just sidelining him for the longest. Even though honestly, Bella gave him more play than Jerica gave James.
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
Oh Lord. Let's see. Jerica, okay, Jerica asks Kat if she were a bird, which one would she be?
Mhm.
So my question to you, C, is if you were a bird, what bird would you be?
Oh God. This is I know about this much about birds. I can name maybe about 5 birds off the top of my head. I'm going to say if I had to be a bird, I'm going to be a parrot because I like to talk and I like to be flashy every now and again. So I'm going to say a parrot. What about you?
If I was gonna be a bird, I want to be a puffin. Have you seen the puffins?
I have seen a puffin. They're cute.
Aren't they so cute?
They're adorable.
They're so cute. They're so adorable, and they're on the seaside. So and they dive around, and so
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm like if a puffin is susceptible to being eaten, but I want to be it.
Okay. All right. Nothing wrong with a puffin.
And Margaret says they want to be the Arctic tern, which I don't know what that. I'm gonna look that up for later. Arctic tern. Ooh, oh, that's pretty too. It's a bird. All right. Um, go back. In chapter 11, we kind of haven't, we don't know this quite yet, but the schoolhouse is finally mentioned, and so are echoes.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, before you actually know what's going on at the schoolhouse, what did you think was going to be the revelation about the schoolhouse?
Ah. I just thought it was just going to be like a little tore down place to hang, in these little small towns. When you're in a little town, there's only but so many places to go. So maybe it's just going to be like a little spot that's kind of like mysterious and that could potentially host like a rave, like a little underground rave because it's abandoned and everything else. I honestly didn't expect it to be. Let me say when we get there, and also when we get there later in the book, it seemed a little anticlimactic, in my opinion. Especially the last when we visited again at the end. You muted. There you go.
Great. I wasn't saying anything remotely interesting. I'll answer this before I get back to the chat. There's another book. I think it came out last year, and it's called The Reformatory, and it's by Tananarive Due. She's written a bunch of like horror, and that was like historical fiction.
Okay.
And actually, I feel like it's what I was expecting from this book, basically.
Okay.
And so in that book is tied into like a school where all these like terrible things happen to children. And so by the time I learned about the old school, I actually thought I was bracing myself because the reformatory was so traumatic. I was like, please don't tell me kids are being abused or something, because I'm not going to be able to handle that. So that's what I thought before we actually know what's going to happen. Yeah, I just thought it was going to be like some terrible dark underbelly of something systemic going on. And I was like, it's important, but I'm like, please, I've read too many books about that. There's like
it wasn't none of that. It wasn't giving anything when they got that.
It was like in the opposite spectrum of what happened. Yeah. All right. Critical thinker. This series is such a creatively good idea. We all tend to immerse ourselves in a good books universe. Anyways. Oh, thank you. And yes. I'm full Delulu in book life. That's where I like to be. And Darfelina said, want to be the Quaker parrot. That I just looked it up. It's so beautiful. It's like a light, kind of like an off-white and a green, a little bit of blue. It's so pretty.
Nice. Parrots unites.
Yeah. Critical thinker said, hummingbird. It's just here to eat. And actually has a really beautiful sound, the hummingbird. So hey, I'm all for it. Let me pull this up. Oh, also, that's when we get first mention of the schoolhouse, we also get the first mention of echoes. So what did you think the echoes were going to be?
Kind of from the synopsis, I kind of got the feeling that it was going to be like, specters and ghosts and stuff. I don't know why. I'm trying to remember, did they specifically say why they refer to them as echoes? Wasn't the grandma who first kind of mentioned that? I might be missing that. But yeah, I always got the vibe that it was going to be a ghost kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't remember who. I thought Kat did. I could be wrong with her, Felina. I just wasn't sure. I felt like they're going to be connected to the ghosts, but I just felt like I thought it was going to be something like more specific than what we got. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, wasn't what we thought.
The trees, Kat kind of says, has like a couple of different functions. So one is to keep the echoes away, and the other is to protect the town. What did you think about what trees represented in the book?
So when we got to the end of the book, where they Kat and Jerica were doing like this, not ritual, but kind of like a thing to remember her grandmother, right? And it was with the jars, and they were putting them over the branches of the trees. And I've actually seen this done before, right? And I just didn't know that this was a kind of ritual that's done on behalf of someone's death, or as in remembrance of someone's death. So knowing that, it just brings like a, oh, like a light bulb moment, because I've seen trees like that in Maryland. So
Mm,
that's more information I'm learning about Maryland as a, Marylander. But I thought that scene in particular was very beautiful. And it just, to get that additional kind of clarity on that, I really liked. And trees are, they're nature. We're all connected to nature, and there is something about, being buried in the earth, and the trees coming from the earth, and it's all kind of connected.
yeah, I thought that was really beautiful, and also I would have no clue that that's um, something specific to Maryland, and also I just have not heard anything about that, so it's not something I've experienced or witnessed. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinated that, and I'll probably look it up a little bit more to understand better after. Um, I also like, not that the author was necessarily saying this, but I like the inclusion of trees because, trees could just keep on and on living. So I also feel like they've witnessed a lot. They've
Mm-hmm.
witnessed a lot of good things. They've also witnessed atrocities, and they're still standing, and they're kind of here as a reminder in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Potentially have seen what's gone on like at the schoolhouse, basically.
Right. Mhm.
Like, I thought that was like beautiful. I just kind of wish there was more of that in the book, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you think the ghost wanted?
What did the ghost want? It's so hard because we don't see really much of the ghosts. It's like we're made to believe there's going to be more ghosts than what there are. And even then, they aren't necessarily that communicative, I would say, if anything, um, they wanted to be remembered, because that's kind of tying into the end of the book with, her remembering moments with her grandmother, remembering, some happy times with, other people in her family. So I'm going to assume the whole theme of the ghost was maybe to be remembered in some way.
Mm, yeah, yeah, I feel like they just didn't want to be forgotten.
Mhm.
And the thing is, when they're around the ghosts, and even Kat has said that she's previously had such a terrible experience being around them because she just like experienced like their despair and everything.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so, not that I necessarily expect ghosts to be all nice, Casper the Friendly Ghost or anything,
Mhm.
but I felt like we don't necessarily get a sense from them like what their message is.
Mhm.
We know that they want them to stay. We know what by this point what's happened in the past, but I just wanted some sort of interaction. I don't know if it should have been a horror moment, like something.
Uh-huh. It should have been something, and we're being nice about it, but the author didn't know what she was doing with him. I think that's what it is. She just wanted to write it in, and I don't think she kind of went beyond wanting ghosts to be in her book. It's like she's like, oh, I really want ghosts to be in here, but there was no kind of storyboarding as to how they can actually fit, or how they could make sense. So it's just like they were sprinkled in, not really being developed for the sake of having it being in a genre of having ghosts in it. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
what it was. And what was the
yeah,
point? We could have had this whole same story without the ghosts, and nothing would have changed.
yeah, yeah. Dorfalina says the ghosts wanted people to confront their feelings, according to the grandma. Yeah, I kind of felt like the grandma felt that way, and then like Kat and Jerica kind of had like their own thoughts. I guess maybe I just wanted it to be more definitive.
But yeah,
Maybe.
because how does that even make sense? Why would the ghosts want anyone to confront their feelings? They all died in this schoolhouse. What does that have to do with confronting
Yeah.
your feelings? It didn't seem to. I don't think it was well thought out.
Yeah. Or I would have been okay if it was like when you're tapping into your deep emotion, that's a place of once a person's vulnerable, it's an easier way for them to access and communicate.
Okay,
But that's not really like how she outlined it in the book, basically.
you digging for it, digging and reaching for it. Tell you it wasn't there. It's no method to the madness. It's just they were just in the book, and you just got to accept it.
All
No
right.
reason.
So at some point, Kat and Angelica are in a diner.
Yeah.
And so there's like I think there's like a jukebox, And so I think one of them says like, "Oh, this is my favorite song." They play a song. So, see, if you were at a diner, what would be the song that you would play?
I'm playing Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. That's my jam. I sing that all the time for karaoke. So that's what I'm playing. Gets the people going.
Under Pressure. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, I would choose Banana Pancakes by Jack Johnson. Have you heard that one?
I've heard of the song in the cartoon. Is that the one?
Curious George.
Okay. Well,
It's a
deep
cute
cut.
soundtrack, okay?
That's a deep cut. All right.
I was listening to it like right before this. Um, all right, so in chapter form 14, we get a bombshell, okay? Kat's dad. All right, so Kat, she hasn't seen her dad in who knows how long. Um, and so they're in cold water, and so Kat's gonna spend a little bit of time with her dad and stepmom and two half brothers she doesn't know. And so she spends time with them. They basically feel a little bit like strangers. And she finds out that when she was too little, beyond her memory, she didn't go over to spend time with her dad every other weekend or anything like that. She actually was with them for 3 years
Mhm.
because her mom was gone. She
Yep.
left. She went on vacation and then came back and got her. So my question is, I can, her mom's defense. So basically, how do you feel about that? But also in her mom's defense, she says everyone leaves sometimes. It's this coming back that matters. What did you think
Mhm.
about that?
The hypocrisy of it all, because how dare you be mad at grandmama, right, for leaving you and your brother, and you're gonna do the same thing to this baby girl? Selfish. And honestly, I felt that it was quite selfish of her to come back and take her from her father, being that they had this whole family unit built over these years. And just for you to go, gallivanting across the country with her, can't even keep her in the same spot for more than a couple of weeks. And it's like, it just felt very selfish of the mom to leave and then to come back and drag her out. And then the reason why she gave as to why she came back was very thin, because why are we here now, mom? If you're so worried about the ghosts, why are we here now? So when the dad dropped that tea, I said, "Oh, this was the best part of the book for me," because I felt so bad for him
Yeah.
and their relationship. And Jerica's response to it was, I'm trying to remind myself that she's a teenager. She's 17, 16, 17, or whatever the age may be. Um, but I don't know. I just didn't appreciate her response to her father after that. Her just up and leaving as well and just disappearing. And but no, that was quite the bombshell. And the mom is a hypocrite.
I was like that got to me emotionally. I was like, what? That was that I literally wrote down bombshell. I'm like, this is a bombshell moment.
Right.
Because I just thought, because not only I guess if I was Jerica and I haven't seen this person and all of a sudden they're showing up at my doorstep to spend time with me
Mhm.
and be a dad, I would be upset too. And I would also feel
Yeah.
like, well, you abandoned me. So I feel like I know like it wasn't okay for her to respond that way, but I think I got it emotionally. I feel like she just got emotional whiplash.
But no, I mean, after he told her that, no, we raised you for years, like I
Yeah,
can
no,
see her being mad at him coming back, without her knowing that he raised her, right?
yeah.
But when he told her, yeah, we took care of you when your mom left for
Uh-huh.
many, many years, right? I think she was like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
And then
3 years.
she still got upset after that. I'm like, why are you being a easier dad right now? If anything, you should, be, I don't know. I just felt that her response wasn't warranted the way she was treating him after knowing that, he's been taking care of you and wanted you around, but your mom stole you away, like after giving you up and leaving you.
Yeah, I felt yeah, that's what I was talking about. I just felt like I think it's just too big. It's too much.
Okay. Mhm.
And so again, I'm not trying to like justify what she did, but I at least could understand it. Like instead she doubled down.
Mhm. Mhm.
She's like, my
Mhm.
emotions are everywhere, so I'm gonna be like F off. And
Right.
so even though it wasn't like right, I at least thought it was unfortunately like realistic. Like sometimes when someone can't handle something, like let me just keep digging this hole because
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I'm already at a 10. So I'm gonna stay
All right. I can't turn back now.
here. But I was in shock. And then yes, it also made me reassess her mother's animosity to her grandma. Because I
Yeah.
think I would understand some of it, but I'm like, you did the same thing. I don't
Same
expect her
thing
to
for
like,
less, I might add. Same thing for less.
yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, because the her grandma left because she was in an abusive
Yeah. Uh-huh. The father
relationship.
was abusive. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's also the other thing with the mother is that I could understand how she's still kind of, even though she's an adult woman, she has that kind of like child point of view, like, wow, you really left me with a monster. I get that. But then I'm like, when you hit adulthood, and it's okay to still have those like upset feelings,
Mhm.
but to at least give your mom an inch and be like, well, she's trying to survive
Yeah.
type
Mhm.
of thing. And sometimes when people are trying to survive, they make decisions that like it, when people don't have good options, they don't have good options. They're just gonna do a survival thing that they needed to do. And so
Yeah.
that's what I felt for the grandma
Mhm.
in the scenario, I
Yeah.
guess. Let me go back to the chat for a second. Okay, Darfelina. But the only direct encounter Jer and Kat had with the ghosts were they were finally honest with each other. That kind of validated the grandma theory to me because it's right about the author not even knowing. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the spooky library. Hey, Leslie, popping in to boop the like button. Won't stick around too long since spoilers. All right. Well, thank you, popping in. Okay. Cat. Oh no, Jerica is tells I'm trying to okay. Jerica's grandmother tells her daughter, so Jerica's mother, that she loved them as kids, but that didn't stop her from leaving, and loving them kept her from coming back. What did you think about that?
Um, wait, ask the question. You said the grandma told Lacey that
Yes,
what part was this again?
that she loved them,
Mhm.
and I quoted it. Her loving the kids didn't stop her from leaving,
Mhm.
but loving them kept her from coming back. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, she didn't want to open wounds. I guess she felt like after a certain amount of years, maybe coming back would only kind of, you know, reopen wounds that were created by her leaving. And I guess
Yeah,
that's, a hard thing to face, even though it's kind of a cop out, but I can see how someone could kind of, make that make sense in their mind. Um, so yeah. Justice for grandma though, because I like the grandma. She's one of my favorite characters, but
yeah. She had like great taste in classic movies,
yeah, very
and
interesting character.
that got
But why
passed
was she
down,
all over
right?
James? Was it me or was she all over James? She was like, "Oh yeah, I'll dance with you, James." I'm like, if you don't
Yeah,
sit down, talking about what a handsome boy he is and everything else, like, okay, I see you.
spicy grandma.
Right, right.
um, where was I? Yeah, I think that when she said that, um, I felt like she loved them so much she didn't really want to face their judgment of
Okay.
her. And so again, it's one of those things that I like reading books where like the characters are messy and just feel like true to life. And I think the author did a good job at least of like not judging the characters and giving room for us to have these kind of discussions, because yeah, it sucks she didn't go back, years later to make contact, but at least I understand like the emotional part of it, like how she rationalized it to herself. She's just like, I've been gone so long,
Yeah.
I can't even face them, basically,
Mhm.
which is really terrible. But yeah, I love the grandma too. Um, what did you think about Jerica's photography proposal to photo not just the people of Coldwater, but the ghosts as well?
I mean, if I go to a town where they say there's ghosts and I'm a photographer, I'm going to try and get a picture of these ghosts. That's the one thing you do. Like if you're a ghost hunter, they say take pictures because that's how you can actually see them potentially in, the film. So I thought it was a logical route to take, at least a route that I would have taken. Yeah, because if it's known for ghosts, everyone's seeing ghosts. At least a lot of people, a lot of women, it seemed. I want to see them ghosts too. Let's take some shots.
I guess, like, for me, I think I felt uneasy about it
Okay.
because um I I just didn't know, it just didn't feel like a solution in any way
Hmm.
to potentially what the ghosts wanted. And so for me, it kind of felt like I don't know, once, like when someone creates art, once you let go of it, a person has no control over like how that art is like perceived. So I guess I just kept thinking about is how does this help the town? And also, is this going to be considered like exploitive in some way? It just kind of gave me those kind of vibes a little bit.
Uh, I don't know if it's going to help the town. Yeah, I think it's just Jerica wanted to take some pictures and I think that's all it's about because it's always about Jerica. It's always about her.
Yeah, because a ghost earns they're in so much pain, and she's like, I know what I'll do. I'll take photos of them. I'm like, what?
Right. And then not only that, oh yeah, Kat, I know you had such a traumatic experience last time you were here, but please take me or else, right?
That's another thing. I'm glad you're saying that because that happens, and then Jerica even says to herself, it's like, oh yeah, I should have considered what she's been through already. And I'm like, are you serious right
Jerica is a little bit of a narcissist. We see this time and time again. I don't know about this girl.
now? I'm gonna circle back for a second. So actually, I think it was like back in like I think chapter 12. We know that the school burned down, and we learn why. This is more of like a comment than a question, but we learned that really like there's I think in like the adjacent town, it was like white neighbors, and so they burned it down. And so to me, I took that as they want to keep the community dependent. They want to divide the community,
Mhm.
and then also that way they could push their historically and present day like educational propaganda in a way. um I just those are things that I was thinking about with the little that we got. I just wish we saw a little bit more about what actually happened. There's no revelation really about the people, how they
Nothing.
go.
They just dropped that little line and kept it moving. And I'm like, there's no kind of payout. There's no payoff. It's just like I said, the author, she didn't have a plan when it came to the ghost. She just wanted to have them in there. And she was like, oh yeah, let me throw in a little, fire and racial tension and to have that be the reason. It was all very late stage, in my opinion, her reasoning for putting in these ghosts.
Yeah, and I guess I keep trying to like rationalize it or justify it because it's YA, but I felt like
I read a lot of YA. There's been plenty of ghost stories are told in YA that have, had some rhyme and reason behind it. I don't want to even blame it on YA. It's just that it just wasn't storyboarded, I don't think. I think, just.
yeah, and I just maybe even just like a chapter or something from the ghost point of view, or like or that historical time so we kind of have an idea of what they went through, and
Yeah,
just
or
why was she
even
rewarded.
grandma telling her stories, like, if we can kinda come back to it and get some explanation, or it's like, yeah, it was just in that one little bit, and they never talked about it again, never returned to it, and then, just yeah, no, mm-mm.
I also wanted, which didn't happen, but I thought with this knowledge that because I think Kat tells her, right, what happened to the school.
Yeah.
I wanted, okay, well, let's go to the library and look at some microfiche and see the articles or
Mhm.
something.
Let's do some investigation here for the reader's behalf, because honestly, a lot of the chapters kind of ran together for me. It was like, well, it was a lot of the same themes, a lot of the same, going over the same thing. So having them kind of look into what happened at the schoolhouse would have been a nice, change of pace, in my opinion, as a reader. But it wasn't added there, unfortunately.
Yeah, or even tying in how that happening to the school affected the town more,
Yeah.
and how it like just overall like functions, and again, we don't get that, so I'm
Mhm.
just like,
Yeah, because yeah, maybe how it didn't really progress, because it's almost like it's stuck in time. They went to the food line and mom was like, "Yeah, I used to work here. Everything looks the same, and nobody changed." And so it would have been interesting to see, okay, well, maybe they don't progress and don't have that because they're scared of, retaliation, or the fires or something, or that would have been interesting to, talk
yeah.
about.
Yeah, just kind of like teasing out those connections would have
Yeah.
been good. Yeah. Darfalina says, then she fake patted herself on the back for not making it about herself. The morning Cat got her acceptance
Right.
letter.
But then the very next day, she said, ma'am, you taking me today. Didn't even give her 24 hours. She couldn't even write back to anyone else about that acceptance letter.
Oh my God, that's so true. That's so true, Darfalina.
The narcissist, Jerica, man, I'm telling you, the true villain.
Oh gosh. Um, all right. Last question, and then I'll kind of switch to the Louis connection. At uh Jerica's grandmother's funeral, she does give her eulogy, and like talks a little bit about the town and the school. Um, Ultimately,
Mhm.
what did you want to happen as far as a resolution when it comes to the school?
This school didn't get any resolution, right? And I
Yeah.
don't feel like it really did. Her telling the people at the town at her grandmother's funeral that they need to, get their act together. It's like, what? There's a time and a place, Jerica, and it's not at your grandma's funeral. I doubt that this is what she wanted to happen at her
Yeah.
funeral. And the way that she was, chastising everyone at the wake is crazy, because none of the things that she said were actually being experienced in that moment. So it just kind of seemed very left field. I'm sure if I was in the audience, she's like, okay, where is this even coming from, Jerica? Like, we're here to remember your grandma. Like, what are we talking about here? It's just very like, just get off your high horse, Jerica. What are you doing? You're new to this town. You've been here for 3 days.
Yes.
Like, how dare you come here and think you know it? All the problems of the town at the grand age of 17 years old, and you want to tell me, an adult, how I'm supposed to act in my town? Okay.
Also,
Jerica. I can't stand Jerica.
the only person that's been saying this whole time how much they want to leave is her love interest.
Okay. Mhm.
Because that's the whole point of what Asia has a problem with Kat. Asia even says that she likes being there, and she just doesn't like that Kat is always complaining about being there, basically.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I just thought that was very interesting.
It's just wild.
Yeah, not everyone felt that way. Oh my God. But yeah, I guess not that I expect everything to be neat and tidy in a book either. Like, I don't even mind an open-ended book, if it's like well placed and then creates like a thought-provoking conversation. But
Mhm.
that's not really what it did, and yeah, there was just no constructive, and I get it. She's like 17, but I just felt like, but if you're gonna write this book, I still want like a constructive idea of where it's going so that I could just leave me a thought, something to think about when I close the book, basically.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wanted more for the school. And if not the structure, because they're really just talking about rebuilding. I'm like, okay, you could rebuild something, but what does it have to do with like honoring the people that were there?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's really,
Okay.
it's not about the frame, it's not about the foundation of the building, it's about the people that died. And so we don't get that either.
It doesn't make sense. It's
Yeah,
just unfortunately.
it was something.
Yeah.
All right. So as we wrap this up, um, why do you think Louis has this book on his shelf, and what parts of the book reminded you of him?
Okay. So there are a couple things. As I was reading, I was thinking, how is this going to tie into Louis? And of course, the photography aspect. Our boy, he loves taking a picture or two. So there's that. I'm sure when he saw the cover, he was probably like, yeah, let me pick this up. And two, the bi awakening, right? Louis was very much suppressing his, sexuality for some time, as was Jerica. So there's that aspect. And I think also the dynamics between Kat and Jerica could be seen as kind of reminiscent, not the toxicity part of Louis and Lestat's relationship, but there was something there how captivated Jerica was with Kat at times. Kind of reminded me of how potentially Louis looks at Lestat when they first met, and I could see that there. So that's how I think it could potentially tie in.
Yeah, I felt, yeah, there's basically almost too much admiration, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
There's one like little paragraph that really stood out to me. So on page 129, uh Jerica says this. Okay, she goes, I close my eyes for a second as a breeze whisks by. It's not hard to imagine the desperation of the dead. I've already felt it for myself, haven't I? Begging so insist it hums, chills so deep it aches. I wonder if that's all it takes to make a ghost, longing for something hard enough, long enough. Maybe that's all it takes to make a human too, or a photograph. So that basically reminded me of just like season two Louis, and how when he's developing the photos, he's shaking the photo, and like for a moment he sees like Lestat in the photo before it
Yeah,
like goes away. And so I think that was probably like also the only, that was a way also to go off on a tangent for the author to kind of tie in what's going on in different ways. I felt like instead of getting the kind of like amount of ghost content we want, we get more of like we get it symbolically more so. So like she's ghosting James, her mom ghosted her,
yeah.
they ghosted the dad,
Uh-huh.
um, her mom ghosted the grandma, I guess, ghosted them. So we're getting it in all these like different forms.
Okay.
But I also like the idea of um, photographs can be these like it's a photograph, but it's not just a memory, it's not just holding the pain, but it's almost like it's this thing that comes to life in a way. And
Mhm.
so I guess that was kind of like my Louis tie-in. And yes, I definitely think that he would just see the cover of it, because I love the cover, and but I think he would even
Yeah.
just pick it up for the cover alone and be like, all right, let me check this out.
Mhm.
And so my last question, actually, let me go to the chat first before I forget.
Okay.
Girlfriend said Jared talked about having petty fights with her boyfriend. Then she tried to pick that petty fight with Kat.
Right.
Her concern that Kat would meet more interesting women in college was valid. Yeah. Actually, yes.
Mhm.
This is Louis Petty talk. I like this.
Yeah, she's very nippy and snippy when she wants to be this Jerica too. Yeah, it's she doesn't know how to. I don't know. I don't like her as a character. I'm not Team Jerica at all. Mm-mm.
And the other thing is, her character is indecisive or like passive aggressive in the way that Louis is.
Yes. Okay. I can see
That
that.
was another thing that I was reading it, and I'm like, oh, the fact that, kind of like you were saying earlier, she probably does know the decision she wants to make. She's just saying, I don't know when it comes to James.
Hmm.
And that's why he kind of like very gently puts his foot down and he's like, if you're going to do the breakup thing, you're going to do it because I'm not
Hmm.
doing it for you. And I was like, that's such a Louis thing because everyone else is doing a thing and he's throwing it on the other person as if he's not also interested in doing the thing. Like Claudia's plan in season 1, but he's been telling us since episode 1 that he was ready to slit his throat. So it's like
He fell back and left. Not too much for my boy Louis. Okay, not too much. I'm still his designated lawyer. Okay, I will defend my client. But yeah, I can see it.
I love him, but also I see all the flaws. I'm like, you're Delulu. I love you, but you're Delulu. But okay. But Margaret said yes. Nice tie-in. Yeah, thank you. I can't help but find any reason to talk about these characters. And lastly, what book would you recommend Louis?
Ooh, Louis. See, okay, me and Louis have very different tastes in book because I like me a good smut book, and I don't know if that's the type of book that Louis will really get down with. Not all the way. He seems like he would like a nice, classy smuts, something of that nature. So, I'm trying to think.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, please,
All right,
please.
I'll go first so you can think about it. All right. So for Louis, I would recommend Rainbow Milk by Paul Mendes.
Okay.
I think I read this last year. It's fiction. It takes place in the UK. The main character, he's in the UK, but I think like his grandparents are from Jamaica, and so like book ended is like the grandparents' story. So at the beginning and then at the very end.
Mhm.
Um, but this is a character that grows up in like a very religious family. Um, there's definitely, I kind of feel like everyone else kind of could see who he is, but and gets picked on, and he ends up on his own from a very young age. Is dealing with self-acceptance as far as being gay, and because he kind of grew up not really experiencing love, he looks for intimacy, but like in the wrong way. He ends up becoming like a prostitute. So his intimacy is like, instead of actually being like an emotional and healthy connection, it's really just through sleeping with other men. And so he goes on a journey of like self-acceptance, basically. Um, Heart-wrenching. The writing is beautiful. Cannot say enough about this. So yeah, I definitely would hope that he would pick up Rainbow Milk and kind of like go along with the journey with someone that uh, learns to love themselves, basically. So.
Okay, very good. I think what, I have a feeling. I think I know that book. I think you recommended it to me before, and I didn't get a Yeah, okay, that's a good pick. I have no idea what I'm going to recommend. The only thing is, I got some for Claudia.
Yes. Oh my God, I can't wait.
Yeah,
Yes.
but Louis, I'm going to recommend him Photography for Dummies because his photography wasn't that good. Apparently, he was getting turned down left and right. So that he might want to take a peek into that one and work on some things. That's all I'm saying.
Dark Felina. Oh, good Rex on my long list. Yeah, it's really good. It's really worth the read. Really, just beautiful prose. Um, I believe that is it. Did you have any other things that you wanted to say about this book, or also let us know what's going on your channel?
Some other things I wanted to say about the book. Her leaving her grandma on her deathbed to go pick up some photos in Delaware was wild to me. I'm like, why would you leave in the
Oh
final
yeah.
hour? That
Oh my
made me,
God. Yes. We forgot to talk about the double exposures. I don't know. I totally forgot about that.
yeah. I'm
Um,
like, that part just pissed me off. And then by the time she returned, her grandmother had died. So it's like you could have spent that time hearing her, whatever last words she could have said. But no, you wanted to be in Delaware getting some photos with your girlfriend.
yeah, she
I,
could have asked Kat to go do the thing for her.
Yeah, she could
And
have.
then
She
she
asked
was
her to do
there.
everything else. And the fact that Kat got two jobs, she worked in the hospital, she worked at Food Line, and she always got time to drag Jerica somewhere is beyond me. I'm like, girl, no. You need a car. You need your own car.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was so wild. I did
uh-huh.
like I did want to say I did not put that aside. Um, I did like that she included a converse or double exposures because I
Okay.
have a friend that's a photographer, and this is like brought up a random memory because she bumped into someone else. She'll like strike a couple conversation with someone, and they were also a photographer, and they said that there's like within that community there's like a program like that,
Okay.
um, where a photographer will do just that, but like with the intent of I'm going to take all these photos and then I'm gonna go on this program and I'm gonna exchange what I did with another photographer, and then they're gonna take their photos with that same exposure,
Okay.
and that's just gonna be like for an art gallery or whatever, and then they develop it and see how it comes out. So one person doesn't know what the other one took, so it's like with
Oh,
the intention of
okay.
getting that double exposure, and it's like really cool. And
That's a
so
cool
that's like the
concept.
only other time I've had any mention of that, but of course she did it by accident. But I thought that was like an interesting, cool mention beyond the fact that she totally ditched her dying grandma to
Yeah.
go get that.
Makes no sense. She is a mess. To tell the true villain, the narcissist of the book, Jerica.
What else do you have going on your channel?
Oh, okay, so we'll be talking about Invincible on Thursday. Again, there's going to be Mayfair Mondays coming up, so that's tomorrow. Check out my watch alongs and of course the live after show discussion. Tonight, I'm trying to get the name of this book for you guys. Uh, it's what's this daggone book? It's something about boats because the way I had to struggle through this book. Essentially, it's a story about an Olympic team in like the way back wins, like in the early like 1930s, on a rowing team, and it's like their struggles of competing in an Olympic race.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about that tonight. I'll post it on my channel in just a little bit, but we're going live at 9 o'clock. And there was one other thing. Oh, and after that, because I do my book reviews once a month with my girlfriends. Boys on the book. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, Margaret. I have no
Thank you
clue.
so much. But we rotate, me and my two girlfriends, as to who gets what month. So next month is going to be my month. It's also my birthday month. And I picked a little scandalous book because I told you guys I love smuts, and I saw this on the TikToks. Everyone was talking about it. So it's called Little Stranger by Leah Rivers. So I can't wait to read that one. So join me on my channel for that.
Um,
And that's it. That's all that's going on my end.
hey, you're coming right at the end, sweetie. That's Dee Dee.
Hi.
I believe she's in the. I think Dee Dee, correct me. You're in the UK, right? But thank you for being here. Margaret, yes, I haven't read or watched but heard great things. All right. Is it fiction or nonfiction?
Now, here's the thing, right? I originally thought it was nonfiction, but the details that they go in and about everyone's like lives, and I'm like, there's no way this couldn't be nonfiction. So they're treading the line. They're treading the line between the two. But yeah, it's called Boys in the Boat, written by Daniel James Brown. It says 9 Americans and their epic quest for gold at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. I don't know. It seems like it could be a little mix. It's a true story, but with some little added sprinkles of non-true in there.
Virtue's sad face. At least I caught you. I'm always happy to see you. I know we always kind of like just miss each other because we're on different timelines. All right. So on my channel next week, I'm celebrating being here for like 3 years. Thank you. It's just gonna be like probably like a productivity type sprint, but just like chatty bits. And then later on this month, I'm doing a buddy read with a friend. So we're reading one romance and one murder mystery, basically. And we're going to be doing that quarterly. And the tie-in is always going to be like the culinary arts. So one book is, I already forgot the name, but it's like A Matter of Quiche and Death. So
Oh, okay.
and it's by Agatha Raisin, so it has like a cute little name.
Okay.
And the other one is by an independent author, J.K. Lambo. It's called Culinary Confessions, so it's just like a romance. It's a cute little romance.
Okay.
So yeah, that's basically what I have going on. And Virtue said, and yes, I'm in the UK, London, to be exact. Okay, I'll try to remember. Oh, this was fun. So glad I read this. It was cute. Yeah, thank you for reading along, Darfelina. It feels nice just to like, get all the feelings out about books. But
Mhm.
anyways, thank you to my lovely guest for being here. Thank you for everyone in the chat hanging out. And thank you for everyone watching the replay. And happy reading, everyone. Bye.
Bye.